Beautiful movement, left and right, keeping it changing, never trying to get his back flat on the cage.
Oh, that left hand is money as well. Oh.
For years, people have joked about what Brock Lesnar's kids would look like if they entered MMA. Well, this guy is the living answer. This wild Viking, nicknamed the Neanderthal by his fans, is an undefeated MMA monster and a savage grappler. He's got the size, the power, the freakish athleticism, even the aura that reminds people of Brock himself. So the question spreads. Is he Brock Lesnar's son? Some swear the resemblance is way too strong. Others point to Brock's amateur wrestling daughter and say the genetics match up. But is the rumor actually true? Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know the real story. This Viking wasn't born in the US at all. He was born in Dusseldorf, Germany, which makes the mystery even more interesting. Early life of the Neanderthal. Given his intimidating size and look, his nickname isn't surprising. What is surprising is how his journey began. At just 16 years old, he started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu after becoming obsessed with a UFC video game. On the cover, Brock Lesnar, the heavyweight champion at the time. The Neanderthal played the game so much that he started trying to mimic the moves in real life. Grappling transitions, takedowns, scrambles, anything he could remember from the screen. Eventually, curiosity turned into commitment. He began studying technique, drilling basics, and building the foundation every serious wrestler and grappler starts with. After 7 relentless years, he earned his black belt in London, the result of constant competition and absolutely zero fear of tough opponents. His BJJ mentor Dickie Martin from Carlos Gracie London guided much of his development. But he didn't limit himself to one school. His hunger to improve pushed him to train with coaches from around the world, most notably Lubomir Kambarov, an elite Bulgarian wrestler he describes as the strongest man he has ever trained with. Wrestling and grappling aren't exactly mainstream sports in Germany, yet he defied the odds, building an impressive competitive resume. Grappling and wrestling career. In 2018, he competed at the IBJJF British National Open against Dominic Bell. For nearly 9 minutes, Bell held the upper hand, defending takedowns, securing dominant positions, and edging ahead on points. When time expired, Bell had his hand raised, but the Neanderthal walked away with valuable experience. Later that year, he faced Tim Breeze in a scramble-heavy match. Neither athlete could secure a submission, but because Frederick pushed the pace and came closest to finishing, he earned the decision win. In 2020, he placed 3rd at the No-Gi World Championship, consistently proving he belonged among top-level competitors. He also became a regular at the Polaris Grand Prix, winning 10,000 euros on multiple occasions, and eventually claimed first place at the ADCC trials, a major accomplishment for any grappler. At Battle Grapple 6 in mid-2020, he fought Eden Jamal in a 10-minute grind. Despite controlling most of the match from top or back position, the bout ended in a draw with both athletes' hands raised. Later that year, at the IBJJF No-Gi Championship, he submitted Khalil Fadel with one of his signature moves, an arm triangle choke, finishing the match in about 6 minutes. In March 2022, he returned to another No-Gi tournament and tapped Joshua Guerrera under a minute with a slick leg lock. By this point, he was already a well-established grappler feared for his physicality and finishing ability. Transition to MMA. Given his extensive background in jiu-jitsu, grappling, and wrestling, it's no surprise his MMA style grew directly from those disciplines. With his team, he built a strategy tailored to every opponent, focusing heavily on pressure, positioning, and control. Now, he has shifted fully into MMA, dedicating himself to becoming a complete fighter. His ground skills remain his deadliest, but his overall game evolves with every camp. And with that, the stage was set for his professional debut on May 30th.
MMA career. In 2021, at Levels Fight League 1, the Neanderthal made his MMA debut against Erhan Akaroglu. Instead of fighting at light heavyweight, the 25-year-old German tested himself in the middleweight division. He wasn't yet in the monstrous, Brock Lesnar-like shape fans know today, but compared to his opponent, he was still an intimidating presence. From the opening bell, Frederick marched forward without hesitation. Round 1 was entirely under his command. He took Akaroglu down, controlled him on the mat, and constantly searched for a finish. Not just holding position, but actively working to end the fight. His wrestling pressure and top control were reminiscent of prime Brock Lesnar or Khabib Nurmagomedov, always threatening, always grinding. Twice he came close to locking in the rear naked choke, crushing Akaroglu's jaw with a painful face crank. And when round 2 began, nothing changed. Akaroglu backed up, drowned under the pressure, and eventually wound up on the ground again. This time, Frederick secured the arm triangle choke and finished the fight. A dominant debut. Despite the strong win, the Neanderthal was brutally honest with himself afterward. He admitted he could have performed far better. For a first MMA fight, it was acceptable, nothing more. Determined, he returned to the gym ready to improve and hoped for another bout soon. But that next fight wouldn't come for a long time. For the next 3 years, Frederick disappeared from the MMA scene, competing only once in grappling in 2022. Fans speculated about injuries or matchmaking issues, but once you witness his next performance, the real reason becomes obvious. He was sharpening every he had. He wasn't training to fight, he was training to destroy. And in October 2024 at We Love MMA 74, the Viking returned. His opponent was Christian Fischer, and the fight lasted just 16 seconds. Frederick shot in, snatched the leg, and finished with a vicious heel hook. Winning fast by knockout is impressive, but winning fast by submission is rare, and he did it effortlessly. 1 month later, at We Love MMA 76, he did it again. Another heel hook, another lightning-fast finish. This time, Nicholas Jovovich survived for a minute and a half, long compared to Frederick's previous victim. These back-to-back finishes grabbed the attention of fans and journalists. People began asking when he'd sign with the UFC and what his long-term goals were. But Frederick stayed humble. He said he hadn't been in MMA long enough to think about championships yet. He believed his deep experience in wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and grappling compensated for his lack of striking. And on the ground, he simply knew more scenarios and more ways to win than anyone he faced. It seemed like his career was entering a calm, steady phase. But that changed instantly. His very next fight made him a viral sensation. The viral fight. On April 5, 2025, at Octagon 69, Frederick Vosgrón faced Jurk Montiak. What followed wasn't just a fight, it was a hunt. From his wild, almost primitive laugh to his relentless pursuit, Frederick looked like a man possessed. The chase, the takedowns, the pressure, it reminded fans worldwide of the terrifying explosiveness once shown by Brock Lesnar. The fight ended in round 2 with yet another arm triangle choke, but the finish wasn't what made headlines. It was the spectacle, the raw intensity, the moment when Frederick could hear the crowd erupting every time he grabbed hold of his opponent. They chanted his name, they roared when the fight hit the ground, and when he finally secured the tap, the arena exploded. Frederick said afterward that the fans' energy pushed him to go even harder, to fight with everything he had. And that performance officially launched him into the spotlight. So who is the Neanderthal? So who is this Viking-looking German phenom fans call the Neanderthal? His name is Frederick Vosgrón, one of the most promising grappling-based MMA prospects in Europe. And no, he's not Brock Lesnar's son, at least not officially. Though jokes about a Lesnar trip to Germany 28 years ago have become common among fans. What really matters is this. The light heavyweight division is filled with elite strikers. Alex Pereira, Yuri Prochazka, Magomed Ankalaev, nearly all the top fighters rely on stand-up skills more than grappling. That's exactly why Frederick is such a threat. If he continues gaining experience and becomes more comfortable on the feet, his grappling advantage is so overwhelming that a future championship run is not unrealistic. But the question now is, what do you think the future holds for the Neanderthal?